Denny! Denny!
Oh.
We went to Mission Arlington for 2 days.
So Mission Arlington is like this street of a bunch of different buildings, and like one of them was the main office, and then another one was like dental offices, and another one was like doctor offices, and a place where they can get food and clothes and toys.
We just showed up and they gave us a couple different tasks.
So basically our job was to like go across that street and like sort out things that were incoming that were being donated. So like the first day we sorted out trucks full of bags of clothes.
And we had a bunch of clothes that were bagged. A lot of the bags were ripped, so we had to rebag clothes and push it all back so we would have more room to load another truck into the same truck. We were inside the truck, so it was super hot. It was so hot.
We were like climbing on top of all the bags and stuff, and then Alexi lost her shoe in the pile at one point.
And it did not smell great at all.
Oh no, they'll do all the way.
Yeah, there was water in bags.
Yeah, you just like pick up one bag and there's
And
like.
then your hands would be like soaked, you'd be like, what did I just
Yeah.
touch?
Yeah.
And then we helped go to a place that was giving stuff to be donated. So we cleared out like this office building and brought it back to Mission Arlington.
Definitely a team building effort.
And it was really cool to know that like, even though that business or something was ending, they like donated everything to Mission Arlington. Like cubicles, chairs, like a big conference desk, cabinets, like shelves, like literally everything.
And then the second day that we were there, we sorted out a trailer full of books so that when people come into the main offices, they can choose books to take home with them.
To basically like a mini moving trailer, and we opened up the door and there was boxes just upside down, flipped over, all sideways and stuff, and they were all filled with books. And the lady said, it's about to rain, so you gotta do this quick. Eventually it started raining, so we had to like hustle them into as many vans and stuff as we could and just like get them distributed to where they needed to be as quickly as possible.
The amount of miscellaneous stuff we found in those boxes.
Word bugs?
Oh my
Like,
goodness.
I mean, it went from a sticker tag maker, to a phone cleaner, to scrapbooks, to random magazines.
Definitely
Like,
not books.
We found like a pasta maker, like a microwave pasta.
literally random things.
It was different because you were doing the little things. So whatever you did, you didn't see what would come what would come out of that. I don't know who it's gonna help or what it's gonna do, but God is gonna do, something with that trailer of clothes and put it to someone who needs it, and they may meet Jesus. But we'll never know that.
We were at Mission Arlington, and there was this older woman named Tilly that was like our instructor on the first day, or like was telling us what we were doing, and she knew exactly what we were doing, but like the way she talked was so cool, like, and her voice was so sweet, and her whole demeanor just was so awesome. I loved her. But
Yeah, it was cool when she was like telling us the background of how Mission Arlington got started, and just knowing that she has put like her whole life into this like program. I don't know what you want to call it, but you can tell that she just has like a true care for people, and that she's willing to put everything into helping people in need and stuff, which was really cool. And just seeing how, not seeing, but like hearing how much it's grown from the beginning, and just how much they give back to the community. Like, I'm pretty sure they said people working there only get 3% of what they gain, and 97% goes back to the community, and I just thought that was like so cool.
So Tuesday we went to the garden for Salvation Army, and we just did a whole bunch of jobs to help ultimately feed the people who were coming in.
Salvation Army was more of an eye-opening moment for me. seeing all the people walk in that were homeless, they have no jobs, they're poor, was realizing how much we all took for granted. I think our table, when everyone was walking in, I think we all thought the same thing. I didn't want to be there. I felt bad eating the food that they gave us because I was like, I'd rather help.
Lily was so awesome. Her demeanor and her willingness to teach us how to do things was so awesome. And we worked on, just me and Blake were working on getting those, I don't even know, Blake, what do you call them?
The tarps.
The tarps, yeah, just pulling those out was...
They were like underground and like the big walkways, and so Tony and Griffin and Marvin and I were like, had to dig them out and like get them. Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's not easy. But us working together as a team with that done.
Yeah, it was definitely harder than I expected it to be. Me, Lexi, and Reagan got put on the job of picking weeds out of a blackberry patch, and I always pictured weeds as like just tiny little leaves, but there was roots probably like this thick, and they were a foot deep, and I had to use my entire body trying to rip them out of the ground, and it was so difficult and just so hot out there, and I'm like in the middle of like a bunch of bushes. There's like bugs crawling on me, and there's thorns on some of the plants, but it was just cool, like knowing that everything I'm doing now is gonna produce food for people in the community and feed a bunch of families.
Me, Reagan, Pooch, Catherine, and Anna, and Ariel all worked on the easy weeds at the front entrance of like where you walk in, and a lot of it was grass because she like told us if grass grows in too much, it kind of contaminates like the growing of the plants. So we worked on these weeds all throughout the entrance to make it look cleaner and just so like the grass didn't spread as much. So for lunch, Lee invited us to eat there with all like their fresh food. They make everything fresh. They made this huge lunch, and they serve it to the community or whoever shows up. And she welcomed us to eat, so we ate at the back tables. And kind of at the like end, we noticed a lot more people were like coming in, and I felt kind of like weird being there because I felt really bad sitting in other people's seats, and I felt like, I shouldn't be eating this food. Like, I'm very grateful to be able to be provided food, and these people aren't, so it felt kind of like a different experience I've never experienced before with like eating there. But one of my most like memorable moments from that day is every night we said happy and crappy, and my happy was they pass around a dessert tray with cakes, pies, everything you can like think of. And this little boy, he was like 3 or 4, was by his mom, and the dessert tray comes by, and his eyes just lit up, and he had the biggest smile on his face. And he was so excited to pick a dessert, and like his mom was so excited too. Like they were took minutes deciding on what they wanted to pick, and it made my heart so happy because I'm like, they look forward to that so much when maybe like we don't be like, we're just like, oh, let's go get dessert, let's go get ice cream. We don't really think about, oh wait, maybe some people like aren't able to have desserts like we are.
When we were working in the garden, one really nice thing was Lee explained to us that like every single thing like that we were doing was important, and like how everything that went into the garden or that was growing in the garden would go to like people in need, and like you don't think you're doing anything right now, you're just picking weeds and picking up tarps, but like it's actually helpful to those who are in need, and that's what I really liked about Lee explaining all of that.
Lee also told us even in their like lowest moments, whether that means the pantry isn't full or like they're low on clothes, like she fought so hard, she found different connections to kind of reboost it, and like never gave up and never does in the future. Like she always like sticks with it even through like the hardest times.
So the theme for the week was popularity versus influence.
Our speaker was Brian, or Stu. We all called him Stu.
I don't remember the specific titles each day, but like basically with like the unpopular thing is he talked about like the importance of not following the crowd and like going with the flow, and telling us that doing the unpopular thing is going to be hard, and a lot of people aren't going to accept you. You're going to experience hatred and a lot of different trials, and that the most important thing is to just base your life off of glorifying God and just living in the right way, not just following a list of things that you should do, but like actually having a relationship with God, and just how to influence others to do the same, and to better for yourself. And yeah, I don't know.
Stu did a great job teaching. He had so many, he asked us multiple questions, like ask yourself when you look in the mirror, you are blank, like I am blank. He asked, and he had so many great stories to help relate to what maybe people around us are going through, or what you're going through, whether that's through high school, family situations, church situations. He had such a good, reliable source to kind of get help, or to know that it's not just you, that other people around you are going like through the same thing.
Another thing I thought was cool was he was like really real with us in terms of like, he said if you're going through a hard time, most people would say, oh, God has a plan. But in reality, when you get told that, it's like, it's not helpful sometimes. Like, you just want people to say like, hey, I understand how you're feeling. Like, I know why you're feeling this way. And like, just kind of, he talked about going down in the well with them. And you rejoice with those who are rejoicing, and you weep with those who are weeping. And sometimes you just need someone to listen, and instead of just telling you that it's going to be okay, to show them how you can heal and make things better through God. Yeah, and I think the message that Stu gave over the week was something that every single person needed to hear. I think it really spoke to everybody in different ways too, and just the way he presented it was amazing, and we were so thankful to have Stu there as the pastor for us.
I would say the most impactful thing for me would be like literally just worship, because like I like really get like see God and like how he's moving through me through worship, because it's like, I mean, like my singing voice sucks, and like I'm horrible at staying on key, but like, I mean, just being around people that are singing and just like feeling that, like, I don't even know, just like feeling that with God, and just like singing out to him and just crying out to him, like just praising him, just like feels really good. And I mean, like usually in church it's kind of like everybody's just like singing, you know, kind of quiet and stuff, but then like there we're all just like screaming the lyrics and just like kind of just doing whatever, and it's like, it's really good.
My takeaway from this week in learning the difference between popularity and influence was learning about how popularity is temporary and having influence on other people can be like forever.
We went around the room and said some nice things about each other, which was like probably the highlight for sure of this week.
I think the most impactful thing for me was like every task that we did was difficult. We were all sweating, we were overheating, we were sometimes complaining about the food we had to eat, and just like having to remind myself that like none of this is about me, and it's all about serving God and serving others. And during one of the messages, I think Stu said something like, your love for God is measured by your love for other people, and just being able to put everything that I had into serving other people just makes me a lot more thankful for the things we do have, and just gives me a new perspective on a lot of things.
One of my most like impact is the group we have, to realize how many people we can go to, how many people, like how close we got is like unbelievable. We literally started off saying a compliment about each other and turned into this whole deep conversation. And just knowing how great of a group we have is really cool, because I know I could call any one of them, how late, text them, anything, I know like I have someone to go to, and knowing how many, like they always have open arms, and they have the same like, I don't know, like strength, or like they have like the same amount of love for God, which is really cool to find in a group of people.
I do agree that for me on the trip was being with everybody, and but most importantly, I think just opening my eyes to things that I can change, changing the world and things, and just knowing that this week taught me that we take so much for granted here, where you live and who you interact with, and I think it's challenged me to be able to go out of my comfort zone and to help the world as best I can. So.
Biggest impact for me was honestly how much God showed me throughout the week. Like every single day I felt like he was showing me something new, if it was like helping other people, or if it was just being a friend to everyone, or even like not, during one of the messages he showed that like you can't hide your pain, you have to like have other people help you, or else you're just gonna keep digging your hole deeper and deeper.
God sent many signs throughout the week, and one of the coolest things was like at the beginning on church on Sunday, they called everyone to, like every one of our group to go up, and they were gonna pray for us. And a bunch of people came up, put their hands on us. They no idea who they are, and I just had chills, like chills through the whole prayer. Like God was sending a signal, like you will be okay. This will be a great experience. Like so many people are praying for you, caring for you to do so much good. And it was a really cool experience to know how many people were praying for us, even though we had no idea who they were. They gave us hugs, they talked to us. It was really cool.
I was more impacted by the church that we stayed at and how much they loved us.
Okay, yeah. So Tuesday we talked about pain and what that looks like in your life and like how you've handled it, and all of us guys were just kind of like, just brush it off, you know, or we just minimize or numb the pain as best as we can. And especially with the stuff that's happened in my life, like that's all I did. And so that's what's made it hard for me to express how I feel, or just kind of even think about how I feel sometimes. And God just used Stu as this like doorway that just opened this like floodgate of memories, emotions, thoughts that I had that I didn't know I had. I think I talked about this at Barnabas, it's hard to see the love like in the community, but this time I think it was a little bit more internal. God loves us, and he even sent his one and only son to die on the cross for all of us. And during the trip, I kind of just, we hear that all the time, if you grew up in a church, it's like, oh, whatever. But if you really think about that, that just hits you hard. And that's kind of something that we kind of worked on, was also, you didn't have to earn it, his love, you just had to accept it. And that's like this really hard thing for me to do. I've always kind of just like, you have to earn everything, but that's something you don't, and it kind of just has always tripped me up. I think it brings back to the central point of you have to love back, and you can't just do that by going to camp or youth group or something, just doing these things every once in a while. I found this devotional thing, and it says, I love awesome encounters with God, conference experiences, camp revivals, but all of that is given to us to spark a fire that will keep on burning. There is more. Your spiritual life is a walk, not a spiritual jump. We must learn to live in discipline, not just have leaps of crazy experiences that lead back to our old ways. And then it says, deliverance gets the devil out, but the life of discipline keeps him out. Deliverance is what God does for us. Discipline is what he does in us. And I think that is something that we've all had thought, get that camp high, or maybe we're just kind of feeling good, but God, like being close to God or having a relationship with God isn't a feeling. Like it's not just, camp, that really felt good, or blah blah blah. It's a relationship. That's why it's called that. So I think that kind of really states it well, is that you have to stay disciplined in this long term for life obedience to God, like all day, every day.
The funniest moment of the week.
Oh gosh,
Maris's laugh in general was a highlight because it made me feel good about my jokes. Because whenever I said, she started dying laughing.
Hi, I'm Keegan. The highlight of my camp experience
Oh, we're
was
recording.
hanging out with Catherine and Anna because they're like the funniest people ever.
Catherine, for sure. Catherine, you know what you did. I'm not gonna say it. You just cracked me up this week.
They keep coming through.
Yeah,
Like they're like a
there's
movie
too
that
many.
won't end. Like
Oh my goodness.
it literally
Um,
won't stop. I think I'm gonna say how Cam kept on saying, Maris, cinnamon. What? Okay, that's that part. Okay, so he said, when I'm in a funeral home, and I'll just remember Maris, and then I give him cinnamon gum, and he goes, cinnamon. Cinnamon. So that's definitely what. Another one is something with
What?
Tony. How do you describe that?
I don't know. The last night.
I know exactly what you're
Last
talking
night,
about. That took me a minute.
Tony's.
I think his mind shut off.
He literally was a whole different person.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
just say that. Like he.
Oh my gosh,
Nicknames?
there's no
I
words to
don't-
match to it. It was
He
just
doesn't
like,
remember half the night because he was
No.
so sleep deprived.
Everyone
goofy.
was so tired, but he was on a whole new level.
Yeah,
of
he was like
tired.
literally sleep deprived. Like he was just loopy.
He was walking around with 5 hats on his head, with his hair in his
Sunglasses,
face, with
sunglasses on.
sunglasses.
It
Oh
was
my
like
gosh.
Chicago with glasses. I have a picture. They're coming in a week. Okay.
Oh, that definitely was my
Yeah,
favorite
we're
part.
bad.
My favorite part was that no one can remember Reggie.
Oh.
3 days in, Marvin goes, Keegan.
Now I
It's
know
close.
it's Reagan.
It's
Close.
Reagan.
Yep, it's Reagan.
One of the other great moments of the week was Pooch had issues getting up in the morning. She just likes to stay in bed. Catherine, on the other hand, she was fine getting up. So she goes over to Pooch, starts pulling her blankets off, taking her pillows off the bed. Pooch is still not getting up. So Catherine goes behind the mattress, picks it up, and just flips it. And Paige just falls on the ground. And I'm just watching the whole thing.
Just a good spot.
Can we put the picture of Cam with the sun hat in the video, please?
Yeah.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah.
I love that
Honestly,
picture. He's
the-
like,
The image of that, the
Yeah.
image of that in my head, like walking
It's
past
stuck
his
in my
row and like seeing him sitting on the ground, I was like, I will never unsee that.
I
But,
loved
like,
it
it's a
'cause
good sign.
The lady
I was like,
walked over and she was like, "Do you want this?"
Yeah, with the
and he was like,
sun
"No."
hat on his
Like,
head.
he was like, "No, I really
Yeah.
don't want it." And then she was like, "All right, no, you're gonna have it," and just like puts it
Just
on his
sits
head,
on
and he was
his
just like, "All right."
I look
I
at Tony,
love that
we're like,
picture.
It was the
Yeah.
beginning of the trip, and I was sitting in the first row in the big van, and I was like right behind Cam's seat. And we got off of the highway, and I'm like, that's not the right van at all. And
we
he
were
goes,
following Ariel's
yeah,
video.
and he goes, yes it is, and I go, no it's not. And he goes, yes it is, and I go, no it has a Texas tag. That's not our car. So he's like, oh, well I've been following that van for miles now, so we could have ended up somewhere really bad, but we actually didn't go too far, but it was so funny.
It was hilarious. Yeah, the entire week, Cam just kept talking about Maris saved everyone, wouldn't be here without her. So funny. You really need me. Help
I
you.
am
No worries.
if you need to
We
reach
got your back.
I know, but like,
So, Abby, if you're out in the crowd, you were actually, we brought you, but you're not on the wall because we kind of lost you, and I apologize.
Boom, look at that.
Look
Look
at
at
these
that.
bad boys.
Love that.
My highlight of the week was
Gains.
eating 4 burgers and 2 meals.
Surf Dallas 2019.
Serve Dallas 2019.